Hey everyone, so your book club is tackling Rene Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy? Awesome! We're going to walk through the absolute core of his incredible intellectual journey. This will give you a great foundation so you can dive right into your discussion. Let's get into it.
Descartes starts with a question that sounds so simple, but it is deeply unsettling. How do you know for sure that you aren't dreaming this very second? This one question is basically the spark that blows up everything he thought he knew. And it kicks off his huge quest for something, anything, that could be called absolute certain truth.
So this quest for certainty, it meant he had to do something pretty radical. In this first part, we're going to look at why Descartes felt he had to just demolish the entire structure of his beliefs, get down to the bare foundations, and start all over again. To explain what he was doing, Descartes used this really powerful analogy. He saw all the knowledge of his time, stuff built on tradition and just, things people assumed, as a house built on shifting sand. So his goal was to find bedrock. He wanted a set of self-evident truths, things as clear and obvious as an axiom in geometry, so he could build a new, totally unshakable structure of knowledge. Okay, so how do you find that bedrock? Well, Descartes' method is as brilliant as it is, frankly, a little terrifying. He uses what we now call the method of doubt, and believe me, it is truly radical. He applies this method to absolutely everything. The rule is simple, but its implications are huge. If you can find even the tiniest reason to doubt a belief, you have to get rid of it. This isn't just being a little skeptical, it's a full-on, systematic purge of every single thing you assume to be true. To pull this off, he comes up with two really powerful thought experiments. First, that dreaming idea we already mentioned, but then an even crazier one. What if there's an all-powerful evil demon whose entire job is to deceive you, creating a perfect simulation of reality? I mean, it's basically the 17th century version of the Matrix, right? In that case, your body, the world, even 2 + 2 = 4, could all be just illusions designed to fool you. So after he's torn everything down, Descartes is just floating in this void of total skepticism. He has doubted away the world, his body, all of it. But it's right there, in that emptiness, that he has his dramatic breakthrough, the moment he finally hits solid ground. And here's the key insight, right? Even if that evil demon is tricking you about everything, one thing has to be true. In order to be tricked, or to be deceived, or even just to doubt, you have to exist. There has to be a you for the demon to mess with in the first place. And this leads him to his very first piece of unshakable truth. The act of doubting itself proves there's a doubter. The act of thinking proves there's a thinker. He cannot doubt the fact that he is doubting. This is his bedrock. This is the first clear and distinct idea that survives the fire. From this, he concludes that his essential nature is to be a res cogitans, a thinking thing. Now, he still can't be sure he has a body or that the world is real, but he is absolutely certain that he exists as a mind, as a consciousness. But, this big win creates a whole new problem. He's now basically trapped inside his own head, a philosophical dead end known as solipsism, with no proof that anything outside his own mind is real. So how does Descartes escape his own mind? How does he prove that the external world, the very world your book club is meeting in, actually exists? Well, he takes a path that's surprising and, for a lot of people, pretty controversial. He does it through God. His logic pretty much goes like this. Inside his mind, he has this idea of a perfect being, God. And he reasons that a truly perfect being couldn't be a deceiver, because deceit, it's an imperfection. So if a perfect God like that exists, that God would not allow him to be completely fooled about the existence of the world around him. So the world must be more or less what it seems to be. Now this brings us to a fantastic, perfect point for your book club to really dig into. Critics jumped on this almost immediately, pointing out a potential flaw called the Cartesian circle. See, he seems to use his clear and distinct ideas to prove God exists, but then he says he can only trust his clear and distinct ideas because a non-deceiving God exists. It's a classic chicken and egg problem. He seems to be assuming the very thing he's trying to prove. Okay, but let's just assume for a second that his proof of God works. That means the physical world is back on the table, and this lets Descartes move toward his final, and you could argue his most influential, conclusion, a radical split in the nature of reality itself. This is his famous theory of Cartesian dualism. He argues that reality is made of two completely different kinds of stuff: the mind, which is the immaterial substance of thought,
and the body, which is the physical substance that makes up the material world. And these two substances have completely opposite properties. The mind, or res cogitans, is a non-physical thinking thing. It's indivisible. You can't have half a thought, right? And it has free will. But the body, the res extensa, is basically a physical machine. Its whole essence is just extension. It takes up space. You can divide it into parts, and all its actions are determined by the laws of physics.
This very neat distinction, though, creates a massive problem that philosophers and scientists are still wrestling with today, the mind-body problem. If the mind is non-physical and the body is physical, how on earth do they interact? How does your non-physical thought, "I want some coffee," actually cause your physical arm to reach for a mug?
And this isn't just some dusty old puzzle. Its influence is everywhere, shaping how we think about AI, about neuroscience, and the problem leads to some really unsettling ideas. If mind and body are truly separate, could you have what philosophers call a zombie, a body that acts and talks just like a person, but inside there's nobody home, no inner conscious awareness at all? The big takeaway here is this powerful question Descartes just leaves hanging in the air. In his search for certainty, he split the human person in two. And now, 400 years later, we are still trying to figure out how to put ourselves back together. Are you a soul driving a physical vehicle? A ghost in the machine? Now that is the perfect question to kick off your book club discussion.